yesterday's deck, the Firebrain Scheme / Heroes Hangout Rakdos with Dreadhorde Arcanist performed well. We 4-1, just losing the Titan. There were some things I didn't like so much about the list. We had Cecil, and Cecil just felt kind of out of place, like just not kind of the correct threat, weird on the curve. No Street Wraith, no Phoenix, a little bit worse. So I ended up cutting both Cecils. I cut the second Inquisition and the third Tarfire to play Cori-Steel Cutter, which also gives the deck a little bit of extra equity against graveyard hate. And one thing is about like Rakdos with Steel Cutter is for the longest time I've just been like, well, if you play Cori-Steel Cutter and Rakdos, your Cori-Steel Cutters are worse than everybody else's. Now that you have Firebrain Scheme and Arcanist, and to like FOMO's not as big a deal, but it's also can be card advantage. It's card advantage really often in this deck. The combination of all these things all of a sudden make your Steel Cutters pretty good. Your Steel Cutter has just gone from being the worst ever to like Arcanist and Steel Cutter just so much better because of Scheme, and Scheme has also felt just good to cast too. And so beyond that, I cut the Graveyard Trespassers from the sideboard for the third Fire Magic and the second Ashiok. I just don't think it's a good metagame for that card. But I don't know. It's just been this deck has been a real treat. I think I might be playing it in the challenge on Friday. Yeah, on the draw with a one-lander, a pretty reasonable one-lander. I think Claim Fame sucks. I would usually rather play another threat. I know it's good with Arcanist, but I think the key is to make Arcanist good without having to play bad cards. This hand's so nice. If we draw the land, we're not very likely to draw the land. It might be okay to not draw the land. We also have one thing too is like Heroes Hangout makes your one-landers better. So it's like our ability to draw. So we have 53, and then the sample size is 2. But if we were to count Mishra's Bauble and Heroes Hangout as good hits, which I don't know if you want to, but all of a sudden you're like 72% to have like a pretty smooth draw. Not that that really is the case, but I think like let's just go ahead and cut the baubles from the good top decks here. 64 still. I think we'll keep on the draw and the blind. Well, to the 7 months. Thank you. Welcome back. Okay, Titan again. This was our one loss yesterday. We did add the second Ashiok. I'm going to go ahead and go for a DRC and a Bauble this turn. If I graveyard this, it's kind of -1 look at a land, but if the land's not there, it's really bad. So I think we just bottom. There's a forest on top, so maybe maybe we've missed our opportunity to Thoughtseize a Spelunking also. Let's get ready to rumble. They rumble over T West, Growth Chamber, Vesuva. Oh, or Spelunking. They just do Spelunking for the redraw. Okay, nice to have drawn the land, obviously. Graveyard this for Delirium. It's actually 5 types for the Goyf too, which is nice. Let's take Primeval Titan. And then let's let them top deck their Titan so we can go to game 2. Okay, not happening this time. So their hand is Simic Growth Chamber, 2 mystery cards after they get their draw here. They do put the Growth Chamber into play. It's kind of weird they didn't take the T-West because they could have, because they had the Growth Chamber. They could have transmuted for Summoner's Pact this turn by playing the Crumbling Vestige again. They do bounce the Vestige. Do they win if they draw Scapeshift here? I think so, yeah. 4 lands, yeah, 4 lands, Spelunking or Amulet is lethal. I don't know that Wizards of the Coast knows that, but whatever. They don't draw the Scapeshift, so yeah, definitely a lot of live lethal draws here. This turn, let's hold up the Unholy Heat and cast Dreadhorde Arcanist. And then we might be able to remove both blockers next turn. We'll see if they do any chumping. They chump once down to 14. If we were going to go next turn, Steel Cutter plus Heat, trigger the Steel Cutter, flashback the Unholy Heat, which I guess would have to kill something that's no good. The Heat does grow the Goyf also. Have you ever done a brew around Merchant Scroll? I used to see good amount of play in Gift Storm. Long time ago. So I think we're just gonna surveil since I'm not really seeing many, if any, lethal lines here. Okay, so if I guess I could just flashback the Thoughtseize, but then I go down to type. So I go Steel Cutter, Bauble, Unholy Heat, flashback Thoughtseize. Then this goes down to, it stays at 5/6 because we go up instant, down sorcery. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. So 4, 9, 10, 13 damage. 13 is not quite 14, but it could be 4. It could be bigger if we can like surveil a land into the yard. Sorry, an instant into the yard or a sorcery. I think either should work here. Because if we surveil sorcery into the yard, we can flashback the heat on the Goyf. Okay, so there's instant into the yard. Sorry, if we can flashback the heat onto the Goyf and keep the Thoughtseize. So make sure I've counted right. So I go heat this, 3 power, flashback heat 4 power, 5, 11, 14. So that looks like Xaxes to me. Flashback scheme and pump. Oh. I missed that we had the scheme in the yard. I guess we'll do that. Will help for my miscounting. This also plays around Beseiju, actually, on the Steel Cutter. Okay, nice. Thoughtseize plus turn 4 kill. Plus them bricking on 2 top decks. We'll bring in the Surgicals, we'll bring in the Ashioks, we'll bring in the Wildfiles, we'll bring in the Orb. We might play like the first Meltdown. It might be too many cards at this point. I am going to cut both Tarfires and the 3rd Unholy Heat. I'm going to cut I think all of the Clings. I'm going to cut the Inquisition of Kozilek. No Violent Urge. This deck needs to be able to play like a flexible mid-range plan, which Verge King has to go in like pure aggro decks. And I think I'm going to go cut all the Steel Cutters in a FOMO. Although Steel Cutter on Arcanist allows us to flashback Wildfire, so maybe we just play 3 Steel Cutters and we still have a lot of 2-drops. Yeah, I do think I want the first Meltdown. Yeah, this looks good to me on the draw. Alright, I'm only getting this one lander. No, I boarded out the Tarfires. Wait. I meant to board out the Tarfires. Okay, so we have one in the deck. Not the end of the world. I thought I dragged both of them out. So I guess we're supposed to have the 4th Steel Cutter instead. I guess keeping this on our 6 is going to be fine. I like having 3 lands so we can draw into Ashiok too. Orb isn't great, but I think the first copy is like worth playing. Kind of happy to see them have a basic forest since that's going to make my Wildfire plan a little bit better. Okay, so they rumble over 2 Scape Shifts, which they can't grab, also an Urza Saga and an Echoing Deeps. They also just played a Saga this turn. They choose Echoing Deeps, which I guess makes sense because it could also be an Urza Saga. Let's play the Scheme, looking for Ashiok next turn, also just growing the Goyf. Could find a Thoughtseize too. We find an Arena of Glory, which I guess we take, but we surveil this turn. We can play the Arena next turn. Oh, I guess I should. I don't know if it's better to surveil main phase for damage or to like have better selection on their turn. I should have thought a little bit more about it either way. The Echoing Deeps, the Urza Saga. They can make a token, but it costs them their spawn. Sounds kind of ominous. So no more surveils. which makes playing this Arena of Glory guilt-free. We could play the Orb this turn, might get Besaged. Kind of likely to die next turn still, despite there being an Orb in play. Might have mulliganed this if it was a 7-card hand, although we did get pretty flooded. I think you got to keep it on 6. Still have game 3. They do have the Besaged, and I don't have another Surveil. It always feels bad when you're flooding and you just surveil your other Surveil land into the yard. Was not expecting Meltdown to be good. Looks amazing here. It's a sorcery, so you're wrong. I think the first Meltdown is okay to bring in. It's pretty situational, but it is. I think it's just kind of there in the sense that it's I think just on the line. We'll try to play through this. It's not very likely we get there. I do like that we have the Meltdown for the amulet. What I don't like is that the Meltdown doesn't quite give me Delirium to be able to heat the Titan, so I don't exactly know what the plan is, but I'll take a draw step. Maybe I could draw Ashiok myself, make the Goyf big enough to block the Titan. Alright, let's go game 3. The play obviously matters a lot. I think I'm going to play the first Inquisition on the play instead of the 4th Steel Cutter. Again, Steel Cutter's not great against them. It is pressure, but the main thing is that if you equip it to Arcanist, you can start flashing back Wildfires. Yeah, we 4-1'd with this deck yesterday. Our only loss was to Titan. Yeah, got to keep this. We've got Ashiok. We have only 1 land, but between the Bauble, Surveil, and Firebrain Scheme, we have a lot of selection here. Okay, definitely just keep the land. Pass back. Undercity Informer against Belcher. That card's good against Belcher. So they are going to expose the amulet here. They did think about it. I guess we graveyard that. So let's see if our top card is a land. It's not a land, so we play the scheme to try to find one. I think I choose Ashiok over Goyf. I don't know. Maybe that doesn't make that much sense. Could die this turn. Seems like they're thinking if they have lethal. Instead, they go for a Soul Guide Lantern, so that's good news for us. When they play a basic forest, they should have 1 more in the deck. Bad news for us is that we continue to brick on our lands, although they may not think that we're very likely to have land for next turn. I think I'm supposed to take the land for the Ashiok next turn. I'm going to go ahead and cash in a Wildfire, mostly because they probably have only 1 more basic, and so this means the next Wildfire gets to be Stone Rain draw card. Seems better to me than playing Goyf Firebrain Scheme, especially when they have the Lantern in play. Maybe a little late on this swamp. We'll see. The amount of time that they're thinking on their plays makes me pretty nervous, but they're not that likely to kill me next turn. They really have to have a second amulet for the most part to do so. They're thinking about sacking the Lantern here, I think. My opponent has said, wait. I'm waiting. What did I choose? Ashiok. I didn't have the... Oh. Arena? The turn would have to be Amulet into Lotus Field and Titan. Well, it could also just be Amulet into Bounce Land Explorer or Bounce Land Grazer. Okay, they do sack the Lantern after some deliberation, and they pass, and every second that passes, it's more likely we get to live and cast the Ashiok. You know, I've been playing a lot of anti-Belcher cards this week, expecting it to be pretty popular. We haven't played against Belcher once still, which is kind of surprising to me. They're in Rumble, they probably aren't on Explorer. Really? I thought that they still sometimes played some Explorers. There's Grazer, Bounce Lane still an out, though. In addition to the Lotus. It's usually like, you know, if you have 2 amulets, it's not that tough to win on turn on turn 2, and if you don't, there's no other way. Might be fine. We lost to Belcher on Monday? Really? With what deck? At the very least, I haven't played against it with any of my, like, Field of Ruin decks. I think with my Goyfs, I'm going to go ahead and mill myself here. Okay, so my second and third Goyf now, I guess, can block. Let's see how big these guys get. Okay, not any bigger. Let's go ahead and cast this Thoughtseize instead of the third Goyf. Okay, no spells. I can only be so upset about that, I guess. Just need to fade out a Warham. So they rumble over Keen-Eyed Curator. Taxing Bauble and Battlements. I'm sure they're going to pick this Curator. Although I guess they can't do a lot with it this turn. Right? I don't think they can get me off Delirium. They lose both basics. They lost all three. This is our second time we've wildfired them this game. They do choose the Curator. You're playing the web slinging. Oh, with the web slinging deck, sure. You're right, we did play against them with that. I guess I've been playing so many Field of Ruin decks. I've been so thirsty to play against Belcher and I haven't seen it. So this lets them double activate. Do I wait? Maybe I don't have enough artifacts. I have 3 artifacts. I don't think they have a good attack. Okay, so let's scheme, I guess. We're nice to find an Unholy Heat, although I don't know what I'm targeting with the Heat. There's a Dreadhorde Arcanist, which is pretty damn bad against the stupid Keen-Eyed Curator. I'm going to Lantern control myself with Ashiok. If I like my card, I'll not mill. If I do not like it, which I don't, I'll mill. We build one of our 3 Unholy Heats this time. The Goyfs grow, but they only go to 5/6. Another normal game against Amulet Titan, huh? They're at 24 life also. Wait, how did they even gain life this game? Oh, they put a cave in to play off the Spelunking. We need to keep filling our graveyard, but we're just going to deck ourselves. We've got 18 cards left. Maybe I can like surgical at instant speed and surveil and like put an extra type or 2 in the yard. I don't have any instants at the moment, so I can actually do that. So I do still have a Steel Cutter in the yard as far as artifacts go, but then this is going to shrink. This becomes a 7/7 trample, is that right? The trample is so huge here. Great tech from them. Usually favorable with the 29 months. Thank you, welcome back. So 7/7, huh? 4 or more types. They have 3 types right now. They can exile 7 more things from my graveyard, which is a lot. I think I just have to kill the Titan. I like block Key Knight because they probably have second Titan in hand. Well, I can Surgical the Titans maybe if their plan is to just cast another one. If I block the Key Knight, they get to give this trample and to kill the if I could kill the Titan and kill the Ashiok, like if this didn't have trample, then that would be the line I think. Okay, so I guess also surgicaling the Titans isn't going to work because they have a Key Knight Curator to counter the surgical. There's like a high enough chance that they miss that line though, right? They might miss that line. Yeah, Key Knight can kill the Titan. I mean, I guess they're just not going to activate. I think there just really is not a good line here. Which it seems to be the main problem. We have no good lines. Again, they might just miss this because it's so narrow, like just so obscure that this happens. But they're a good player. They find it. We'll see if they have the Titan here. They sack the spawn, so they almost definitely have it. And let's concede. On the play against Gala the Hut. Keep our 7. Let's lead on the Channeler. What if you're supposed to play 1 Extirpate over 1 Titan? Okay, Extirpate isn't 1 Needle? 1 Titan? I don't know what you're talking about. You would never play in this deck Extirpate over Surgical. Needle is also just like the matchup is just like we boarded in 10 cards, you know, and like maybe those 10 cards could be a bit better, but this is also kind of the problem with Titan too. Is that to like when you play an archetype like this, the percentage of Titan means it's hard to dedicate more than like 2 Ashioks for it. You could play the 3rd Ashiok, but even the 3rd Ashiok doesn't move the needle that much. You even lose when you have Ashiok in play to their sideboard cards. So I don't, it's very tough. It's a very tough matchup to board for this archetype. If you're not playing counter magic or a faster combo, it might even be best to just kind of ignore a Titan. Wouldn't bolts be good here? Tarfire is almost always a card I like to play instead if I have Goyf. Okay, here's Belcher. Yeah, I almost always prefer to play Tarfire if I have Goyf and or Delirium cards in our deck. I guess I fetch because I could Surveil Tarfire or FOMO in the yard, and they could Shoal pitch to counter the Steel Cutter. Kind of narrow. Yeah, okay. Let's keep this on top and then just go 2nd Steel Cutter Goyf next turn. Although they did have the Shoal, so kind of funny that we almost got got that to happen. They do have double Bloom here, which is scary. That's the Steel Cutter. Graveyard. Back in for 3, get the down to 16. These both tick down. Could maybe beat a Tamashi. Gonna have a hard time beating a Belcher this game unless we have some really nice heroic hangouts here. Alright, still gonna surveil main phase. Getting pretty flooded. There's heroic hangout. I'm going to go ahead and graveyard this. We get an extra damage now, and this gives me the possibility to surveil into the 4th type to kill the Tamashi. And so while we could keep the heroic hangout / Firebrain scheme to try to get lethal next turn, it's not very likely that we do that. It's likely that we have to go 2 more turns. And if they don't have a payoff here, then they just don't have a payoff. But we can maybe answer one of the payoffs with this. Bolt to be better than Heat here. They crack for white, so they just play the Belcher. We'll see what their build's like before going to game 2. Main deck Force Negation, main deck Strict Serenade, that's interesting. Alright, so we're gonna bring in the Surgicals, we're gonna bring in the Wildfires, and then I kind of am thinking that like Cling to Dust plus Surgical deals with Tamashi well enough that we could just cut all of our removal. And that's kind of the plan I've been wanting to go into this with. Let's go ahead and stick to that and click the save button. Yeah, finally ran into into Belcher. Although not with our Field of Ruin deck. We do got the Wildfires. Let's give this a go on the play against Belcher. Like, the Arcanist's ability to start flashing back some discard spells seems pretty nice. Also, just kind of a more aggressive draw on the play can sometimes be pretty dang good. They have Smallpox versus Titan. I would never play Smallpox in this deck. In general, it's fine, I guess. No Bloom. Their deck is just so much worse when they don't have Bloom. Alright. Let's play an Arcanist this turn. They have a shoal in their hand. They're thinking about shoaling. They do. They pitch an Archaeologist. No Amulet command exists in the hands of a good Titan player. Is it genuinely tier 0? Asking for a friend. Might want to learn the deck of so. It had the best win rate of any of the popular decks at the PT. And I think we all know that the skill ceiling of the best players of it is much higher. So although most of the players at the PT are going to be playing at that higher level anyways. So I don't know how much that point matters. Let me go ahead and start off with the Cling. But yeah, I think I've been saying it's the best deck in Modern for a while. I think it continues to be the best deck in Modern. I think it likely will continue to be the best deck in Modern. I'm going to go ahead and play the Arcanist this turn. Might not be the right 2-drop. Just without an arena, like, you just have to get it down. Otherwise, it's a little slow. Yeah, you do sometimes have to expose Amulet to removal or to the battlefield. It was the battlefield was the meme. Okay, great draw. I think we just graveyard the Wildfire. I don't love showing our opponent that we have it, but we get the extra Surveil. Interesting. So let's take the Belcher first. And I think I'm going to take the Sing so they just can't top deck the Belcher. Yeah, that comment was also so funny because you just don't have to expose it. That was also, you just don't have to expose it because of Amulet a lot of the time. Or did not flare? Because I have the Arcanist to flash it back. And then I'm gonna go ahead and be okay trading the Goyf. I'm gonna keeping that on top so I could maybe equip the Steel Cutter to the Arcanist so I can flash back the Wildfire if I want to. Maybe not what this game's about. Can't Scolding this. Their hand is Tamashii Scolding. They suspend a Bloom, then they play a Tamashii. Let me go ahead and Cling to Dust the Belcher. Their hand right now is just a Stern Scolding. Still keep this on top. Going to be good if we draw the land. I think that's good enough reason for me. Just make lands good top decks. Which we don't draw. So I think we still play a Steel Cutter. We can make a token after we attack. And now I guess I do want the land. So I can just go cast FOMO next turn. Or this turn. I think it's better than casting the second Steel Cutter. Okay, a little bit punished for exiling the Cling with, or the Belcher with the Cling, huh? Not really anything they can draw now that we have surgical though. Like Whir isn't the out they need it to be. So we obviously just have lethal too. My opponent's last card is just Scolding. I guess I can't even like really trust my opponent to tell me if they have a basic here. Like if I was to wildfire their land and they had a basic mounted in their deck, it just would be correct for them to not get it. I mean, maybe they would get it anyways, but I mean, let's just attack for lethal, and we know they have just a Scolding and go to game 3 without showing them anything else. Okay, game 3 on the draw. Let's go. This pause in between rounds of sideboarding could mean that they're bringing in the mountain. I like a lot about this hand. I think Surgical's really good. Wildfire's obviously good. Arcanist discard spell's good. Scheme to try to hit land number 2. So if we brick on a land, we can try to go Scheme into Inquisition. I think we keep on the draw. They do suspend the Bloom. Let's Surveil on turn 1. Keep the 3rd land. So I'm probably going to go Wildfire next turn into either Inquisition plus Steel Cutter next turn, or Steel Cutter into Inquisition. Conversely. They play Mountain over Island because if they flip it to Belcher, it's more damage. The one red source still lets them cast all their spells too. Alright, they choose Flare of Denial, so they might flare my Wildfire. I guess we get I guess we should have basic Mountain if they had the Harbinger here. They would have needed to play the Mire. Although, okay, most people play Mountain. Some people do play Island. All the PT lists are playing Island. Really? I guess so. I guess I didn't look that closely at that, but I think the Mountain is better, if I'm gonna be honest. Maybe the Mountain's too bad with Whir, but you're just so much likely to not kill your opponent with the Island. Maybe I'm just totally wrong about it. Okay, they reveal a Disrupting Shoal. And they hold up a Stern Scolding. What Mountain do? Read Goblin Charbelcher. Mountain doubles the damage when it's revealed. Let's use another Steel Cutter for next turn. I don't know. The Whir is a reason to not play the Mountain. This conversation's been happening for a while too, anyways. Okay. Let's hold up double Graveyard Exile for Thomashy on the Bloom, because that is really about all we can beat. I think you're only bringing it in when you're pretty sure we hit before Belcher. Yeah, the thing is, like, that just won't always happen, you know? You just won't always get Field of Ruined or Phantomed. Like, against Blue-White Blink especially, if they just don't have Phantom on their draw, they're holding up Consign. Like, they're putting so much pressure on you, it is really costly. Alright, there's the Belcher. And then they pass the turn. So I can draw Wildfires to keep them off of the Belcher activation. About the same to Cling or Surveil if you're only looking for one card. I can also Surgical the Shoal if we draw it. So I can haste Arcanist and flashback the Scheme, or I can go Channeler, Surgical, Cling, which is 3 looks at Wildfire instead of 2. 3 is higher than 2 also. Cling looking for Hangout? That's interesting. Thing is, I know they have Shoal. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. I just think we're supposed to look for the Wildfire. And we get three looks at it this way. His basic play is completely out of deck building. It's either Island or Mountain, yeah. So they Shoal pitch Scolding. So we had 2 more looks between the Surveil and the draw. Alright, Dead. I guess let's, I don't know why we would even cast this Bauble. We're Dead to the Belcher here. Bummer. Okay, Dead to Titan, Dead to Belcher. I think that's going to be it for us today. Don't feel like grinding this one too much more. We might still play it later this week, although not as good a result today as opposed to yesterday. Maybe the Cori-Steel Cutters are a little high on the curve. It's possible. Definitely some interesting stuff going on here too. I also tonight what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be working on the Magosi camera deck. That's like my